Marty in Westland, Michigan. I used to live in Westland. Hey, Marty, what's up?
The following won the Grammy.
Marty?
Yes, sir.
Hey, you're on the air. What's up?
Oh, I'm so sorry. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind?
You know, I kind of, how could I say? I kind of wanted to, I had worked, this is unusual, but I worked on the presidential campaign in the primary as well as the general election. Interesting enough, I worked for a gentleman, if you may have heard of him. His name was Rocky De La Fuente. He was running on the Democratic ticket.
Okay.
We were legitimately on 46 states ballots on the Democratic ticket. I worked for him quite a long time before the caucuses in Iowa. And, you know, what I'm calling to say, I mean, working, now look at this. I worked for the Trump campaign within the last 2 months. So you talk about coming at an interesting perspective of working for two completely polar opposites, even though the gentleman I work with was worth about $800 million and the only Hispanic running on the Democratic ticket. And during part of the campaign, we had teamed up with a gentleman, an African-American up in Chicago, Willie Wilson, who was also running on the Democratic ticket. Now, it might be interesting that most of your viewers have probably never heard of these guys, even though, especially in our case, we were legitimately on the ballot in 46 states. We got on the ballot where Martin O'Malley didn't get on the ballot. I got us a super delegate in Ohio.
Yeah, that's Marty, I salute your powers and your abilities. What are you calling about, though?
That is, we need the Democratic Party. There was a reason. I mean, the Republicans worked very hard because I got to see some of the stuff that went in behind the scenes to get out the vote. They won the Democrats in the get out the vote. The statistics could be looked at. As I looked at today, 12% of Bernie Sanders supporters voted for Trump.
Yeah, you know, I don't believe that study. I read that, Marty. I know half a dozen people who were, quote, Bernie supporters who voted for Trump. All of them are retired military who live in my community, or a couple of them were active duty military, and all of them had never voted for a Democrat in their lives. And Bernie in the primary captured their imagination. Bernie was saying things in the primary that made a lot of sense to a lot of people. And so these guys all voted for Bernie in the Democratic primary. And then they all went back to voting Republican as they had their entire lives in the general election. They all voted for Trump. And I mean, I know these people. And this is not an unusual story that I'm telling. So you know, when the Clinton group starts going off on this, oh, you know, Bernie cost us the election. You know, this is the fifth or sixth time I've seen some effort to say basically, you know, Bernie cost us the election. It's BS. I'm not buying it.
The election at all. What I'm saying is, comes a time where the Democratic Party has to have a message instead of always attacking. I'm just saying this was part where the Democrats thrusted a candidate at us that was repudiated for the most part, in my opinion. I mean, by many factions. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, Marty, but that, you know, and I think that it was a terrible campaign blunder to spend millions of dollars on advertisements pointing out to us that the children are watching Donald Trump say terrible things when we all knew that. And yeah, there should have been a lot of policy stuff. Donald Trump was frankly running on policy. He was lying about what he was going to do. And we're now seeing that. You know, he has not kept a single one of his promises or you know, other than to start deporting more people, I suppose, which, you know, plays well with his racist base. But anyhow, that's so. But I don't disagree that the Democratic Party needs to focus on issue. Here's the problem. And Marty, thank you for the call. Here's the problem. You've got right now the Democratic Party, when they were putting together their better plan, they said, OK, what really is the problem here? And the real problem, when you look at it, is corporate power. And how did corporate power get so concentrated? It's because Reagan in '82 stopped enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act. And so these giant conglomerates, industry after industry, from airlines to to fast food, to restaurants, to theaters, to manufacturing, I mean, you name it. Pick an industry. They're now controlled by 2, 3, 4, 5 major powers at the very top who interact so much with each other that they're functionally monopolies. If on an airline route, well, you know, Delta raises their price $5, United will raise their price $5 5 minutes later. If CNN goes to a commercial break, MSNBC will go to a commercial break, right? It's functional monopoly. And the Democratic Party looked at that and said, you know, this functional monopoly is not a good thing for the United States, and we're going to take that on. Now, that's a huge deal for an entire political party, the Democratic Party, to say, we're going to take on monopoly. That's a huge deal. Have you seen any coverage of this whatsoever on television? No. I wonder why. Could it be because the television networks are functional monopolies? That they would be broken up under this reemergence of the Sherman Act that the Democratic Party is talking about? I think so. And you know, which all the more just shows how broken and dysfunctional in many ways our system is.